Oh, here goes, and welcome to the 185th episode of Throwback Hoops. Woody V is in the house. Please follow the show on YouTube and wherever you listen to your podcast. And as always, I'm joined by my main man, Robbie Clayton. What's going on, bro?
What's up, Woods? Glad to be back for another week. A lot going on. What are we, about 9 more sleeps away from the NBA season to start, which I know we're both very excited about. But yeah, another fun show coming up, right?
Yeah, definitely. Got through a few fantasy drafts already. You got a few left?
4 down, 1 to go. So, I know we had our Yahoo one that we've been doing for 20 to 25 years yesterday. That was nice and fun doing that. So, yeah, it's always fun doing a good fantasy draft, right?
Yeah, definitely. This time of year is so exciting, right? So, Let's get this show on the road, man. What jersey you got for us today?
Cool. Well, we're wearing kind of new one. I think we're both wearing jerseys we got last year, actually. So, another random one. Not sure if you know I've got this one, but the card and the jersey today are both a kind of honour to guys that we both like, and especially, Hawks guys as well. So I'll show you the one I'm rocking today.
And for those who can't see, Robbie's wearing the Utah Jazz John Collins jersey. And John Collins.
People have got that jersey, Woods. A John Collins Utah Jazz jersey. Not many.
People in Utah, maybe a few. Yeah,
maybe.
Did a pretty good
People
season
in,
last
John
year.
Collins' cousins and stuff might have a couple, but yeah. Yeah, didn't want to talk a lot about him, obviously being a current player, but this is a 24-25 Utah Jazz City Edition jersey of John Collins. Look, those familiar with the show know how much of a big fan I am of this guy. I'm still haven't quite got over that the Hawks got rid of him, especially if they got nothing back in return. No offense to Patty Mills back in the day. But obviously it's a new era for John Collins, joining the Clippers this offseason amongst about 5 other guys that are even older than him. So they're going to be an old team. But I quite like him there. I like that sort of fit that, you've got the Zubats, you've got the Lopez, and you've got John Collins that can kind of play those big men positions there. But look, I'm a big fan of him. How do you sort of see his fit with the Clippers this year? You like it?
Yeah, I do like it. He's actually the young buck there now, right? Because he's got quite a few guys older than him, as you said. I think, look, for him to go into a situation where he can compete for a championship, play some postseason basketball, right? It's going to be good for him. Utah was in a rebuilding phase, wasn't really in line with where John Collins was at that point in his career. So it's a nice move for him. I like it.
And don't forget, this is a guy that's made it to the conference finals before. I think a lot of people forget that the Hawks made that conference finals and eventually lost it to the Bucks, 5 or so years ago. So he's been there. Obviously he hasn't consistently had playoff basketball and certainly didn't have any with Utah. But I think he's just that veteran presence. He's certainly a good teammate. He's always popular wherever he plays now. And quite like this jersey, actually. Don't have a lot of these new Utah jerseys. So, yeah, pretty nice looking on this one. I'll probably have to get a Clippers one, right? So I can say I've got a Hawks, Utah, and a Clippers John Collins jersey. So, all right. So I'll get straight onto the card of the week, actually. So a bit of a Hawks player from the past, like someone we both will love as well, right? So this is the 2017-2018 Panini Auto card. It is numbered 38 of 99, and it is none other than Stacey Augmon.
The Plastic Man.
Look at that nice card there. So, yeah, I know it's someone we've spoken about on the show. I know we're big fans of this guy. Maybe for those that don't know about the Plastic Man, Woods, this is a guy that had a lot of playoff success. He's had time with Detroit and the Hawks. But give someone a 30-second spiel. If you've never seen the Plastic Man, what sort of player was he?
Just a glue guy, Does anything the team needed him to get W's. Very versatile, could defend multiple positions. Just a guy you want on your team, man. He'll fill the role that the team needs, right? Is that a fair assumption?
Pretty good for the top 10 players in NBA action back in the day as well. Or?
Definitely. Actually,
he was having top plays every week, wasn't he? At one stage with the Hawks.
Yeah, he was. And that mid-range jumper, left-handed, right?
Yeah.
I was telling Pete Hooley on X the other day. I think John Brown's jumper looks a bit like his, right?
Yeah, I can see what you mean. A bit of a slow release, but once he gets that time, he gets his feet set. It's not a bad shot. I think you just maybe don't give him enough credit because it's a little bit of an awkward looking shot there. But look, you touched on it with his defense there. I mean, he'd be great in this day and age. I mean, he was someone that could legit guard 4 positions on the court there.
Yep.
Had those long arms there and those limbs that could sort of twist around. Hence the nickname, the Plastic Man. So yeah, someone I always really liked. I know we've talked about him in the past, but nice looking card as well, right? Stacey Augmon auto card. Nice. Well, why don't you take it away with your jersey? I see you rocking a nice Wizards one this week.
Sure.
So Woods is standing up, rocking the nice number 8 Washington Wizards Bub Carrington jersey. Nice random one. Woods, I know we like getting some rookie jerseys from time to time. That was your rookie jersey purchase last year.
Yeah,
right?
definitely. I was a big fan of Bob Carrington. I think I may have worn this jersey before. I can't remember. We were
have
talking
you run out
about
of jerseys? Be honest. I'm getting worried.
No, I haven't run out
No?
of jerseys. No,
Alright,
I
alright,
still got, I
alright.
still got
Okay.
ones.
Right.
I pulled out the what did I pull out the other day that you didn't know I had? The Calderon, right?
True, true.
So basically, first round, 14th overall pick, right?
Mm,
Obviously, I am previewing the Wizards later today, so I
right.
don't want to get too into it, but I just want to look back on his rookie season.
Mm,
He was the NBL rookie second team selection. He had 9.8 points per game, 4.4 assists, and he started 57 of the 82 games. So he played all 82 games last season and started 57 of them. How did you see his rookie season?
I think solid would be the best word I'd use to describe it there. Look, he didn't, massively stand out, but I think he was definitely a help to that team there. A bit of a funny Wizards team, as we'll talk about. Like you said, it's probably still in that position now. They've lost guys like Jordan Poole, but then they've got veterans like CJ McCollum there. But I know that the Wizards are high on this guy and they want to sort of bring him along there. But yeah, solid's probably the word I describe. He didn't look out of place out there at times. Obviously, you're playing with a lot of other younger players, which sometimes is difficult at that point guard position. But I think he's got a pretty bright future ahead of him for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And yeah, looking forward to seeing. We'll get into the Wizards a little bit later. And I'm also wearing this King set. This is the new member set this year,
Mm.
Robbie.
Bit
So
pleased with their last game, are you?
really pleased with their last game. I mean, they could
Mm.
do better with these member sets, But
Little
I just
plain,
thought,
yeah.
yeah, a little plain. But I just thought, pretty proud member this year, today. So I'll
Well,
wear
you
the
weren't
hat.
after the Melbourne game on Wednesday, but you were after the Saturday game in
That's
Adelaide, right?
true.
Yeah,
That's true.
yeah.
And we'll get into that in a second, right?
Mm.
But before we do that, I just thought I want to talk a little bit about the WNBA, which was just completed, Robbie, and the Las Vegas Aces completed the sweep of the Phoenix Mercury with a 97-86 win in Game Four. Aja Wilson scored 31 points and grabbed 9 rebounds to help the Aces beat the Phoenix Mercury 97-86 in Game 4 of the finals and win their third title in 4 seasons.
Mm.
Four-time league MVP Wilson made 17 of 19 free throws as the Aces swept the Mercury in the best-of-7 series. Wilson locked up a second finals MVP honor. She won her first in 2023, the second of the Aces' 2 straight titles. Only the Houston Comets, who won the first 4 league titles from 97 to 2000, have had a better run than the Aces. Yeah, I mean, huge achievement, and Aja Wilson's just getting it done, right?
Absolutely. I tried to watch a few of these games with my daughter, try and watch the women's basketball with her. And look, it wasn't much of a series. That was probably the only disappointing thing there. I think, there was a lot of double figure results in that 4-0 sweep there. Bit of a shame that, Phoenix couldn't put up a better battle there. But look, the Las Vegas is such a good team there. I'm a big fan of Chelsea Graywoods. I was pleased to see her get another chip. But Aja Wilson, she's sort of coming to that category now where she's close to being one of the best female players I've seen play. I know that's a big call. There's been some great players over the years, but what she's doing now, and look, what she did this season was history making, right? So for those that don't know, she won the league MVP, the scoring title, the defensive player of the year, the grand final MVP, and also and the title as well. So she won all those. It's never happened in WNBA or NBA before. So just to repeat, she won in the actual regular season MVP, scoring title, defensive player of the year, and then in that finals winning team, she was also finals MVP. So that is not. I'm not sure we'll even see something like that again. I mean, you talk about even Wemby, for all this hype we've got of him in the NBA sort of thing. He might win a defensive player of the year, maybe a scoring title, I don't know, but is he going to win all those other things as well? It's just a remarkable effort by Wilson there. And, her good friend Bam Adebayo was there after the game to congratulate her. It was a pretty cool moment. Those two are always sort of there for each other. And
Yep.
yeah, well-deserved win. As you said, 3 wins in the last 4 years, so they're building a bit of a dynasty there. And yeah, certainly an impressive team.
Well, Robbie, yeah, that's a good point you make. The Aces finished with 25 wins in their final 28 games. Whether they can maintain their success may depend on the outcome of the negotiations for a new collective bargaining agreement. Most of the Aces, like the majority of the players in the WNBA, are free agents. The team could look vastly different next season if players decide to go elsewhere. So if Wilson, you mentioned Gray, some others like Lloyd choose to stay, the Aces could keep their run of titles going for a while.
Yeah.
But yeah, that remains to be seen, right?
Exactly right. No, we'll watch that with interest sort of thing. I mean, it's one of those things, because you've won a few, do you sort of maybe look for other opportunities there? But, look, I'd like to see them bring back that team if they could and continue to build on that dynasty like I mentioned.
Well, thanks, Robbie. Really appreciate that. Now, I just want to turn your attention to the NBA now from the WNBA. And I just want to touch on the rumors that have swirled around superstar Giannis Antetokounmpo and an exit from the Bucks and a potential blockbuster trade with the Knicks again. Giannis insisted on Wednesday that he's not focused on anything beside what's unfolding in Milwaukee at the moment. But he reserves the right for his stance to change, though. He's gone on to say, right now, I'm happy, I'm doing what I'm doing, and I'm focusing on this season in Milwaukee. But in 6 months' time, my stance could change, and he's made it clear if he's going to leave Milwaukee, New York's a place that he'd like to be, right? So, yeah, that's a good question for you. Where do you see this going? Yeah.
Well, he's certainly leaving the door open, like you said there. I think the time frame he said was 4 to 6 months, right? So 4 months to kind of just go past that trade deadline. So interesting wording he used there. Look, you never know with these New York rumours. It's kind of the same as the Lakers rumours, Is it just sort of people trying to put these rumours out there and hoping that they come true, sort of thing? I don't know with Giannis. He certainly hasn't yearned to play in a big market, throughout all his years in the league. He's playing in a pretty small market in Milwaukee. He's kind of, got that elusive title. It was the first time they'd even been back in the finals since the 70s when Kareem was there. So I feel like he's kind of done all that he can with that team at the moment now. It's a vastly different team this year. I mean, from last year, he's lost Chris Middleton, he's lost Dame Lillard, he's lost Brook Lopez. So very different team there. I don't know, they've even got, higher playoff seed aspirations this year. I guess when you've got a player as good as him, you probably do. But yeah, it'd be interesting to see if he eventually. I don't know whether he'd be the sort of player that would force a move, given how good a team player he's been over the years. But maybe it will just be one of those things that they decide to move on from him, right, and try and look after his best interest, try and get some decent players and draft picks back for him. But geez, it would look strange seeing him in any type of other jersey, wouldn't it?
Yeah, and thanks for your comments, Robbie. And when we talk about New York, there'd be plenty of logistical hurdles to pull that trade off. The Knicks just are short on assets, after dealing for Mikal Bridges and Cat in the
We
last
can't
off
trade
season.
Bridges as well till the new year, so he's someone that's not even eligible to be traded. I mean, you wonder if there'd be a package deal. If you trade for Giannis, do you have to get Thanasis back as well? So is this some package deal that you've got to get 2 Antetokounmpos for 1 type thing? I don't know how that works, but yeah, it's interesting, and I'm not quite sure what to make of Milwaukee this season. You wonder if they have a really poor start to the season, whether they really try and blow up that team and try and get some draft picks. Because they're not a team that traditionally have had high draft picks, just because Giannis has always kept them so competitive over the years he's been there.
Yeah, and look, Giannis went on to say, I believe in my teammates. I'm here to lead this team wherever we can go, and it's definitely going to be hard. We're going to take it day by day, but I'm here, so all that extra stuff doesn't matter. And that's something you got to respect about Giannis, right? He's a consummate professional. And he's here to do a job, and he's going to come to work every day. It'll be interesting to see that a new center he's playing alongside Turner, right? So
yeah, Turner's going to look strange seeing him in that jersey. Look, he says he believes in his teammates. I'm not sure I do. I mean, there's some
I'm not sure I do either.
Players there, and like I said, I mean, not a lot of young players that you can build around. I mean, they've still got guys like Kyle Kuzma, Gary Trent Jr. I don't know. There's not a lot that jumps out there, but yeah, we're watching this with interest, aren't we?
Yep, for sure. And to continue the trend of our NBA team previews, right? I mean, the feedback has been great. We've got through quite a few teams already, Robbie. And I thought this week, let me give you the homework of previewing a team that is in the forefront of everyone's mind at the moment, and that's the New Orleans Pelicans, because they're just here in Australia for the NBA NBL game. So I'm just going to bring up the depth chart for you to go through. And
I mean, while you're doing that, it's exactly right what you said, Woods. It is a team that's fresh in everyone's mind at the moment. Look, there's some decent pieces on this team. I think I said to you maybe after that Melbourne game, this is probably a 20-win season. Maybe they're a bit better than that. Maybe I was being a little bit harsh. They're a bit jet lagged in that game, but they're probably running with a starting five of Jordan Poole, Trey Murphy, Herb Jones, Zion, and Messi there. And look, they've got some decent young players, which I'll sort of talk a little bit about in my questions there. Guys like Fears and Queen. Sadiq Bey, who I know we're both happy to see come back, and Looney, who's that veteran presence there. DeJounte Murray's another one that they hope to get back sooner rather than later. But look, to go on to those 3 burning questions that we've got there. So look, this is a team that in 2024 they went 49-23 and looked like a real impressive team. Last year they just got cruelled by injuries, pretty much all their main players. They went 21-61. Woods, for those counting at home, that's a 28-win drop there. So that's as big as you'll see from one team. So 49 wins in 24 to 21 wins last year. So look, I guess my first question is, can this team get back to the playoffs? I think they come into the season with renewed enthusiasm there. They've got a healthy and fit Zion. They've got off-season additions in Jordan Poole and Sadiq Bey, and they've got rising star in Trey Murphy there. So I think they've probably got some optimism coming in there. As we said, last year the injuries really cursed this team. It was something like I hadn't seen for a while. But do you think they can at least get back to some sort of playoff contention in the West this season?
That's going to be hard. I really think that's going to be hard. You know how strong it is out there in the West. And Zion does look fit. The team has got talent on it, but I just think competing in that West for a play-in spot is going to be very difficult for that New Orleans team with that personnel that they've got right now. It's going to be difficult, right?
I mean, that's it. It doesn't look too bad on paper. There's some decent players there, but when you think of some of that depth and some of these teams in the West, that a lot of Western Conference teams seem to have even got better from last year. We talked about the Clippers being one team there. I mean, they won 50 games last year. They look like an improved team, and even some of these teams that were a little bit lower last year. I think every team at this stage of the season, has some enthusiasm and optimism that they might be an improved team. But that was probably my first one. We're talking the second burning question. Look, I mentioned that that injury curse last season, Woods. The Pels are still without arguably, possibly their best player, right, in DeJounte Murray.
Yeah,
So
arguably
Murray's
their
been
best.
sidelined since early last season with a torn Achilles. By all reports, he should be back early in the new year. So look, let's take it back for ourselves. Woods, a year and a half ago, we saw this guy in person while he was still with our Hawks, and he put up a 40-point masterpiece in that game we saw against Boston. There, I mean, he took over that game, the best player in the game by far, and I'll always remember that game, right? As I think you will there. But yeah, what are your thoughts on that? Do you think if they can get him back, is he that real big piece? If he can get back and sort of look like that old DeJounte Murray, then I think we could maybe put him in, at least play in contention. Would you say?
Yeah, well, what they need is the DeJounte Murray that was there for that last year in the Spurs uniform when he made that All-Star game, and he was one of the best defenders in the league, doing everything on the floor, right? He was given a bit of a license in Atlanta to take a lot of shots when Trey was out, and that's not what they need. If this New Orleans team are going to get the best out of DeJounte, we need that last year in San Antonio version of him, right? Get him in that starting lineup alongside Trey Murphy, Herb Jones, Zion Williamson, and Messi, and then you can have Jordan Poole coming off the bench in a six-man role with Sadiq Bey. All of a sudden, that team looks a little bit better. You got Jose Alvarado coming off the bench. I think Carlo Matkovic is there as well, who made some strides last year. So they've got some good pieces there, and this team could beat any other team on any given day, with that cattle, right?
And they've got some shooters, like you mentioned. I mean, even guys like Jordan Hawkins is a knockdown shooter there. So if DeJounte's playing and he's healthy and the offense is facilitated through him there, I think he's got some pieces that he could possibly trust and, set up and try and get those guys going now. So I think that's the real key to the season now. I mean, he went down so early last year. I think he had an early season injury, didn't he? Was it some sort of hand injury or something? And then he came back and then he basically did the Achilles there. So absolutely cursed last year. And I felt so bad seeing that there. And, he was rehabbing while the Pelicans made the tour of Australia. So, from what I'm hearing, he should be good, to go early in the new year. So we're not too far away. Just got to try and weather that storm and get through to, that Christmas period there. And if they're sort of, around 500 or not too far beyond, I think they'd be pretty excited to bring someone back in there. So, and look, I'll finish off my little burning questions on the Pelicans there, Wood. So, two young guns, right? So they added two top 13 picks in this most recent draft. So Jeremiah Fears at pick 7 and Derek Queen at pick 13. So Derek Queen actually was drafted by the Hawks and he ended up getting over in a pretty interesting trade to the Pelicans there. But look, the team has really high hopes for both of these rookies. I mean, anytime you're getting two 13, top 13 picks, that's pretty good, isn't it? It's pretty impressive there. And I think they're looking for these guys to contribute straight away. Look, we saw a bit of Jeremiah Fears in Australia and, probably mixed results, but I think we liked, probably the second game and just the mental sort of capacity and the trust and belief he had in himself, right? You could really see that with him. Derek Queen's someone we didn't get a look at. He does have the little injury cross next to him there, but I know they've got hopes about him too. But what do you think we can see from these two guys? Are these guys that you think can contribute straight away for the Pelicans?
Look, I think that they're going to bring him along a bit slower. I mean, DeJounte Murray being out might give some playing time early to Jeremiah Fears, right? But look, Derek Queen, we didn't get to see him in those NBA, NBL games, but yeah, I mean, look, that depth chart is pretty deep. At the 4, you got Kevon Looney is coming in with the Carlo Matkovic from last year. It remains to be seen how many minutes you'll see from Queen and Fears. Right?
Yeah. Look, I think if you're drafting guys that high and you're a team that finish like 20 games below 500 last year, I think you probably expect that you will see him. It's just what sort of impact they can have. We know Fears is quite a young player as well there. So, yeah, hopefully you can get that veteran sort of presence in front of him with guys like DeJounte and, even guys like Jose Alvarado who have sort of been there done that and everything else like that. So,
think,
that's sort of my key questions. They're definitely an interesting team. I think everyone's got a bit more interest in them down under now after seeing these guys play and sort of getting to know the personalities a little bit more of these guys. But, yeah, that's my little take on the Pelicans.
Yeah, and to your point, Robbie, those rookies in the back half of the season, if the Pelicans aren't, in for a playoff hunt, then you'll see them get extended minutes, I'm sure, as well.
Yeah, for sure. All right, you're going to hit us with some Wizards news, right?
I am. I'm going to hit you with some Wizards news. So, you see that come up right there in front of you? So let me just go through the depth chart as it stands. We've got Bubba Carrington, whose jersey I'm wearing. I'm not running out of jerseys, Robbie. I'm wearing a Bubba Carrington jersey because, it's the Wizards, right? We got CJ McCollum, Chris Middleton, Bilal Coulibaly, Alex Sarr. You got a lot of young guys there. So I think my 3 burning questions will actually touch.
Afterwards. So what I can see from that depth chart, so you've either got to be 21 and under or 35 and over, right? Just based on some of those players there.
That's right. So look, going into my 3 burning questions will actually touch on some of the depth chart, Robbie. So let me just start off with my first burning question on the Wizards, right? And the first one is, who will separate themselves? In no particular order, Robbie, these Wizards players are generally considered the most promising, right? 2025 number 6 pick, Trey Johnson. 2024 number 2 pick, Alex Sarr. 2024 number 14 pick, Bob Carrington. 2024 number 23 pick, AJ Johnson. 2024 number 24 pick, Keyshawn George. Your man, 2023 number 7 pick, Bilal Coulibaly. And 2023 number 20 pick, Cam Whitmore. The oldest player in that group is Keyshawn George at 21 years old. Everyone except for AJ Johnson and Whitmore were drafted by Washington, right?
It's crazy, isn't it? Yeah.
It's insane. So look at that depth chart right there. It covers a lot of those guys all of the guys I just mentioned.
Yeah.
So let's give them some credit where it's due. If the Wizards' plan is to build organically, then they're on the right path here. But the team ceiling will be determined by how close some of these players can get to reaching their goals, right? And last season, Sarr led the charge. He averaged 13 points, 6.5 rebounds, 2.5 assists, and 1.5 blocks, including nearly a steal per contest, coming in 4th in the Rookie of the Award race. Coulibaly, who's someone you're a big fan of, was their only player 21 years or older with a double-digit scoring average at 12.3 points per game. With that being said, Trey Johnson may emerge as their most promising offensive player. I mean, he averaged 20 points per game as a one and done at Texas. So talk to me, man. Which one of these guys is going to step up and separate themselves from the pack this year?
Well, firstly, before I go into that, Woods, I like that this team has basically, sort of tried to develop with all these draft picks. I mean, this is a team that was really hijacked for years with that John Wall and Bradley Beal, contracts they had, right? Especially that Beal one towards the end of his time there. They just basically, he was taking up essentially half of their salary now. So I'm loving the depth they've got there, and literally 2 good veteran presence as well that maybe we'll talk about later. But look, in terms of the young guys, I'm probably going to go with my guy / your guy, right? And that's Alex Sarr. So I know you're high on him and you've drafted him in basically every fantasy league you're in so far. But he looks like someone that does have all the tools, right? I mean, he's really athletic. We know he's a good defender, but if he can consistently knock down not only that 3-point shot, but that sort of long 2 shot, just to try and stretch the opposing big men out of the key a little bit, open up the lanes for guys like, CJ and Bubba Carrington to drive in there as well. I think Sarr's going to be the one to watch this season. I think he had a pretty decent Euro basket there. I know Bilal Coulibaly got injured in that, so the two Frenchies there. But Sarr's, for me, I think is the one probably to watch out for. You'd probably be agreeing, right? Knowing you
I
mean, this guy at the moment.
After seeing him in the NBL and then the first part of his NBA career, I thought this guy's going to be a bust. I even came out and said that.
On him, were you? Yeah.
I wasn't high on him at all, and I said there's going to be no All-Stars coming out of this class. But after watching him in the back half of last season, man, you really saw him come on with this unique skill set. A guy can stretch the floor. He can get you steals, blocks. He can rebound the ball. He's a lob threat, He's got all the tools to be a star in this league. Yeah. And I think that having some of those veterans, to my next burning question, right, will help him this year, right? Yeah,
I'll throw a Keyshawn George at you as well. So he's someone you can see on here. He's listed. He can play 3 positions there. He showed some pretty good skills last year. I know I picked him up in a few fantasy leagues. I was like, who is this guy? He's putting up these various numbers. So he's another one I think that maybe if Sarr isn't the one that really blows up in terms of those young guys, watch out for George. He could be someone that's going to be a special player, I'd say.
Yeah, and with George, he didn't have a standout college career. He put up very modest numbers. They drafted him on potential, right? So he's coming to his first professional job without even playing much in college, right? So it's going to take a guy like that to some time to develop, right? And we saw glimpses of that last year. Could he be the one to separate himself from the others, right? But one of these guys have got an opportunity to stand out this year, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so going on with those veterans you mentioned on that roster, who got Marcus Smart, we got CJ McCollum.
Marcus Smart.
Oh, he's got Marcus Smart in
Lakers,
LA.
yeah. They've
LA
only got
now.
two veterans on this
He
team.
was there last year, right? So now they've got Chris Middleton and CJ McCollum, basically, right?
Yeah.
Look, at first, Kuzma was poised to be the veteran leader coming into his own after being traded from the Lakers. Eventually, Jordan Poole was the guy. And then, yeah, obviously, yeah, as I mentioned, we had Marcus Smart there for a while yesterday. Last year, sorry. We had Marcus Smart for a while there last year. Yeah, so tell me, what has he got left in the tank, Chris Middleton, right? Having someone like him technically should be good for this side. The 33-year-old came to Washington as an NBA champion. And unlike the others that I just mentioned, Kuzma, Jordan Poole, he's also earned 3 All-Star selections. Like, he's very, very decorated. He's even more decorated than someone like Bradley Beal, right? So,
Well, how long have I had a man crush on Chris Middleton for? It's a long time, right? Even since he was, basically leaving Detroit en route to Milwaukee there. So, look, I'd love to sit here and say he's going to be awesome. He's got that starting 3 spot locked up sort of thing. I was a little bit concerned what I saw with him with Milwaukee last year. He really has gone down a few steps. His defense wasn't there. The consistency of his shot wasn't there. Yeah, I don't know. I think he's someone. I'd love to be wrong. I'd love to see him have a bit of a bounce back season and get back to maybe not all-star form, but get back to someone that can average 15 points a game and put up good percentages and play good defense there. I'm not sure. He's someone that has dealt with quite a few injuries the last few seasons. That's probably a big if there. CJ McCollum, I'm probably a little bit more high on. He's someone that I think can still really play. Right, he's a veteran. There's no doubt about it. But I don't think he's lost a whole lot there. I think he's someone you could see probably having some big scoring games for this team there. He's going to get plenty of minutes there. So he's probably the one out of the 2 veterans that I'd be more confident with. But Chris Middleton, if he can turn back the clock a little bit, I'd be really loving to see that because he's been someone that's had a great NBA career, right? Someone that's still probably underrated with what he's done. You mentioned, the All-Star appearances and the championship win and everything. He's probably never totally got that credit, given that he was playing with a superstar like Giannis. But yeah, I'm excited to see both these 2 vets, and I like it. I like having 2 vets that seem like pretty good locker room guys. CJ hasn't won anything before, but he's been, he's obviously the play union rep over the years and those sort of things. So I think 2 guys that can take some of these young guys under their wings and maybe teach them this NBA game.
yeah, for sure, Robbie. As you said, the issue is the several injuries. All that athleticism he had previously, it's gone somewhat. And look, the Wizards aren't really, vying for a championship or anything. So there's not that much pressure for Middleton to play at a high level. So let's monitor that to see where that goes. And to my next burning question, is it too early to look forward to the 2026 NBA draft? For a team like Washington, is it too early? I mean,
look, this is a team, Woods, that probably if you were doing press conferences now, you'd say, oh, we're high on this group and we think we're a chance of competing for a playing spot. I think that's probably PR spin there. I think there's no way that people would be expecting this team is going to push for a playing spot. We know the East is a little bit weaker this year. There's no doubt about that. Some players have left, a lot of injuries to key guys like Halliburton and Tatum and those sort of things. But I think possibly it is a season where you just try and get something out of these young guys and then position yourself that you are going to get some further draft picks next year and then have a real crack at it in 12 months' time when you basically every player on the team is 24 and under essentially. So. Yeah, look, I think they'll be a scrappy team and they might surprise a few teams, but I don't think it's going to be a season where they really push much. So they've probably got to look forward to the draft in June this year or June next year, I should say.
Yep. 2 teams that I think won't make the play in the Pelicans and the Wizards. Although the Pelicans, you said that
you'd give them some chance, right? Yeah, some chance. Washington, I don't know what their odds would be for making the playoffs. It would have to be rather high, I would have thought.
Well, thanks for that, Robbie. Really appreciate that. I think we've got our NBA draft wins next week.
So next season, Woods, it's that show we love doing it. People loved this last year. So we're going to do our NBA wins draft. So for those that weren't aware of that last year, we essentially draft, we'll do a coin toss, so who gets the first pick, and then we'll essentially draft 15 teams each. And then at the end of the season, we add up how many wins our teams have got and see who got the most. So I won it last year in our inaugural year, but it was really fun, right? We got a lot of teams. We picked them well, and quite a few teams we were way off on, right? We totally overstated them there. And, teams like the Pelicans, like I said, they had a 28-win drop. Sort of, teams like that are the ones that can hurt you there. So, yeah, look for that next week. We're doing that and all of our season predictions. So it's going to be a big NBA episode next week, which I'm pumped about.
Yeah, awesome, Robbie. Thanks for that. Really appreciate it. So let's turn our attention to the NBL now, shall we?
What's one quick one before we go to the NBL?
Oh, yeah, sure.
LeBron James. So there was
Oh,
some news that
yes.
came out last
That's
week.
right.
Yeah,
My
so
bad.
he's basically sciatica, so back injury there. So he's going to be reevaluated in 3 to 4 weeks. So reevaluated doesn't sound great. It's not like he's going to be back in 3 to 4 weeks. So I've heard a few reports saying this could be a 6 to 8 week injury. So we know he's a bit of a freak, with the way he keeps his body well and that. So you never know, but that's a bit of a concern, right? He's turning 41 coming in, in December, and he's already out for the first 1.5 months. That's a big loss for the Lakers, isn't it?
Big loss for the Lakers. And you'd want to see Luka and him get used to playing together early on in the season. But let's see. I mean, you do. It's hard to bet against LeBron. He's proven us wrong all of the
Maybe
years.
Bronny James can take his position and put up some numbers, right?
Yeah. Cool. Thanks, Robbie. All right, just turning our attention to the NBL. Okay, so we've got a huge round 5 coming up Wednesday night. We've got the Ignite Cup. So let's start with the Jack Jumpers versus the Kings. All right, maybe I'll go to you. The Jack Jumpers. How did you see their round 4? The Jack Jumpers lost to the 36ers in their single game of the weekend. Yeah, of the week. Yeah, on the Thursday night. That was a Thursday night.
Okay in that game. It does feel like a while ago, doesn't it? I was really surprised about how much Isaac Humphries outplayed Will Magna in that game. I really was. He just had his way with him there. So, yeah, I think, look, Tasmania's still looking pretty decent, I think. We know they've got a couple of injuries there. But, it's probably a big game for them in this one, isn't it? They get their, home Ignite Cup game there. So maybe I'll throw it back at you as well, Woods. What was that experience like going to, the inaugural night of Ignite Cups? Was it different? I know the TV perspective, they sort of had different graphics and different things like that to let you know it was a different game. But how did it feel going to that? Was it a decent crowd? I don't know.
Yeah, it was a really good crowd for a Wednesday night. I was actually quite surprised.
School holidays,
Yeah, so let's just touch on the performance of the Kings on that Wednesday night. I thought they were solid, right? I mean, they competed for the first half, but Melbourne just ran away with it in the second half. Brian Gorgian was out-coached. We had one from 10 from the free throw line from Xavier Cooks.
Yeah, we need to talk about this.
Yep.
1 of 10 free throws. And what did you say he was shooting? I think he made a couple in the Adelaide game, but prior to the Adelaide game, he was
7.3 or 7.6% or something like that, right?
I've never heard anything like that in my life. I mean, that's a real, I don't know, for someone that was wearing that same basically jersey you're wearing now, at least he had a handful of games with the Wizards there. That's really concerning that he could be shooting that bad, and you're not keeping your team in it if you're doing that. So I'd like to see Cooks really improve that. But sorry, I interrupted there.
Yeah, so look, there were certain combinations Gorge threw out there in the third quarter there that really cost us, right? And a lot of questions were being asked. Is Gorge the guy for the job? Is he going to survive the season? There was pressure on the team. There was pressure on the coaching staff, right? And then for Sydney to go into Adelaide. And Gorge put on a masterclass, right?
Questions were answered.
Yeah, I mean, he put on a masterclass. I don't think I've seen him coach a game that well in a while, right? Or maybe I haven't noticed it, right? But the adjustments he made to go into Adelaide, to get the best out of Bull Call, a neat 14 and 12 out of Tim Suarez, a couple of free throws made from Xavier Cooks.
Didn't give away any cheeseburgers, I don't think.
A lot of the guys contributed in that second game. So I'm not going to get too excited. Okay, we won 1 out of 2 games. In fact, after that first loss, I was talking to Matt McQuaid, and I was like, Matt, we're already preparing for the second loss to Adelaide, and what's the reaction going to be in the media and the general public if we go down to Adelaide? So against the run of play, Kendrick Davis was able to go back to his old stomping ground and get a big victory for the Kings. One of the biggest victory for the Kings in recent memories, and a big one for the franchise, man.
Absolutely,
so I'm going to give the Kings. I'm gonna back the Kings to go into Tasmania and win that game.
Same. Yeah.
All right. Okay. From my team to your team now. Wildcats versus Bullets. Before we talk about the Wildcats, let's talk about the Bullets, man. Some serious concerns coming out of the Brisbane Bullets camp. There's a lot of unrest there. Players are not happy. The leadership group is... Who's the leader there, right?
Well, since we last recorded as well, we've seen Freeman Liberty leave the team, which is a real big loss there. I know we're really excited to see him this year. He looked great in the preseason, and we know he was injured there, but that's a big loss, so they're going to be recruiting an import. But it doesn't seem right, does it, with the things you're hearing about coaches and a bit of player unrest. Jalen Adams, is he sort of the leader that this team needs? I probably would say no, but yeah, it's not looking great for him so far, is it?
No, no. And just a quick word about Lamar Patterson and how fit he's looking.
Yep. Oh, loving that. I mean, I saw he put some tweets out last week. When Jason Kadee re-signed with Bankstown in the NBL One East last week, that maybe he's looking at that sort of thing. So if he wants to come over to the East, I'd love that. So loving seeing a former Atlanta Hawk guy, getting back in shape and contributing. And he's going to be needed on this team going forward.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And just quickly to your Wildcats, man, what can be said about someone like Dylan Windler and the impact he's having for you guys?
He's been big, hasn't he? Doolittle's been a little bit up and down. It's basically been JLA, Windler, and really the three of them that have been the most exciting ones there. Yeah, shout out to Windler. I love watching this guy play. He's looking healthy, which is great to see him. Look, some decent signs, right? I'm still a bit disappointed in Mason Jones. He looked a bit tentative in that game, putting up shots. He was obviously trying to do pass first, and I'm not quite sure. I know, like I've said, we need a point guard. I'm still not sure he's the answer to that question there. But look, some good signs. You can't be too hard on a team when they get a decent road win there. But they've got a tough weekend coming up.
Yep.
With a couple of big games, and I know we'll talk about the last one there. But yeah, I'll be thinking Perth should be right in this game.
Yep.
It's going to be a late night for us. School night, work night, and everything else like that. It's going to be a late finish on a Wednesday night, but. Of course, we'll be watching.
I'll be in Adelaide.
Okay. Well, you'll be, half an hour less than that, right?
Yeah.
Half an hour time difference there, yeah.
All right, so yes, on Thursday night we are in Adelaide for the game versus Southeast Melbourne.
So you're not going to that, though, are you, when you're there?
No, I'll be back on the Thursday. So I'm there
you're
on
playing
the
ball
Wednesday.
Thursday night, of course.
No,
Yeah, we need you for that, yeah.
So yeah, the 36ers. How did you see their weekend? They went 1-1. They got that victory that I mentioned against the Jack Jumpers, but then were shut down by the Kings, 79-103, and the Kings found a tonic to stop BC, right? And do you think other teams are going to follow that suit?
Yeah, I mean, it was strange. They finally got a good game out of DJ Vasiljevic in that game, but just no one else really stepped up. Humphries is really good against Tassie, as I mentioned, not so great against the Kings there. So certainly a mixed weekend, and it's a team that's probably a work in progress there. They have added a lot of new pieces. They've got two new imports plus a recently naturalised import. They've got a lot of guys, even like Flynn Cameron coming in. So I think it's going to take a while for this team to mesh together. But I don't mind what they're doing so far. And I actually think they'll be far too strong for the Phoenix in this game as well, right?
Yeah, I agree with you. We'll move on to the Phoenix in a minute. Just with the 36ers, Flynn Cameron, a guy I want to talk to you about, right?
Yeah.
Does he have NBA upside? Does he have enough to get a summer league tryout? If Dave Hickey can,
Yeah, I think he does.
Yeah?
If Wiley Bales and Hickey can at least get a summer league tryout. Yeah, I like him. He seems like he's someone that's added a little bit to his game every year. So yeah, I think he'd be a legit chance to get a summer league tryout at the end of this season.
Awesome. All right, so let's move on to the Breakers versus Jack Jumpers. We've touched on the Jack Jumpers and their weekend. What about the Breakers? We saw a masterclass from Parker Jackson Cartwright, 17 assists, right? Equaling Damian Keogh in the 40-minute era, I think it was, right?
Yeah.
So talk to me. I mean, the Breakers, they did get that win, and they really should have got the win yesterday, right? Against SEM.
Yeah, Brockington's looked a little bit better, I think, over those last couple of games. And I think PJC was just reminding everyone, especially in that first game there, how dominant a player he is. I mean, he's someone that's been top 3 in MVP voting before, and it's always just been a few health concerns with him. But look, some decent signs. I feel like they've had a lot of home games. I don't know what the story is. I feel like they've had a lot of home games early on. Maybe I'm just imagining that. But I think there's some signs there at least. And it was good to see them actually, get that big win against the Hawks last week and kind of get that monkey off their back a little bit.
Yep, no worries. So who you got? Breakers?
I'll say
Jack Jumpers.
I'll say Jack Jumpers, given I've got them. I can't see them going 0-2. So Jack Jumpers in a close one, I'll say.
Yep, no worries. I agree with you. Bullets and United. Do the Bullets even have a chance?
No.
No. I agree.
United's looking dominant, aren't they? They've had some big victories this year. Look, Brisbane will be coming off that road trip to Perth a couple of days before, so this could be an ugly game. I would have thought maybe Melbourne going to Brisbane, they could win by 20 points or so.
Talk to me about the dunking Dutchman and the impact that he's having on that Melbourne United team, right?
I mean, we're talking about that top 3 for MVP voting. Would you have him in that top 3?
Edwards is up there, man.
Consider it, wouldn't you? Yeah, and they've now got Golding back, which is good. Shea Lee's still a little way away, so they haven't had that full roster all season. But yeah, the one sort of real standout team and consistent team so far is the Melbourne United.
Okay, let's move on. On Saturday, we've got the Taipans and the 36ers. Now, the Taipans putting up 60 points in 40 minutes yesterday. That has to be one of the lowest scores in the 40-minute era. I think it's got to be in the bottom 10 of all time.
They're a pretty tough watch, aren't they?
Right, oh my
I've got to
God.
say, they come on. I know you're they're your second team traditionally in that, but I must admit, when I see a Cairns game on, I'm not as excited as some of these other teams to watch it, even though they've got one of my favourite players in McVeigh there. But yeah, look, I think They've probably got a lot to work on, Cairns. It just hasn't quite worked out with some of the players they've brought in so far. Still early days, I guess, but yeah, it's going to be a very tough game from against the 36ers team with Bryce Cotton going into Cairns where he loves to play as well.
Yep, and I want to talk to you about Cairns. I want to talk to you about Admiral Schofield, right?
Mm.
No one has attempted more three-point shots this year in the whole league than Admiral Schofield. How many three-point shots do you think he's attempted?
He's probably taken 7 or 8 a game.
Yep, 8 a game. 44, but nearly 8 a game. 43 or 44 after 6 games, right?
Yeah. Someone with that body size that he's got, he probably should be starting from the inside and working his way out because he's a big boy there. He's going to create some mismatches when, he's got shorter or, less strong opponents on him there. But yeah, he's jacking them up, isn't he?
Yeah, and what percentage do you think he's making him at?
Oh, is it under 20?
29%, right?
29, yeah.
Okay, I mean, and Jack McVeigh's only taken 15 three-pointers all season, right?
Yeah,
so you look at that.
Around, that's a strange
doesn't make any sense, right?
No.
And I'm sure he gets a lot of coverage, but Admiral Schofield has proven to be a below-average rebounder, doesn't get down into the post and back down smaller players, which he should be doing at his size. Doesn't have nice touch around the rim. Maybe he's come out of here. He looks like he's come here a little bit out of shape. I think they should probably cut him pretty soon, man, unless he starts.
That's a big call.
Yeah, I really do think so, man. And then there's a lot of.
I think we'll give him a couple more games. He definitely needs to deliver better.
If he doesn't start delivering the next 3 or 4 games, those voices will get louder. They're already on social media, you know. There's words out there. So yeah, you don't give him a chance against the.
36 is pretty easy, I'd say.
Yep, cool. SEM versus Hawks. Let's just touch on SEM really quickly. Gutsy victory yesterday.
Yeah, I must admit I didn't see a lot of that game yesterday, so I probably can't say too much there. But yeah, I don't mind this SEM team. I think they're kind of that middle team, aren't they? We've got some clear standouts, and I think probably everyone will be saying, look, Cairns, New Zealand, and Brisbane are expected towards the bottom. I think South East are in the middle team at the moment there. So, and look, they have signed an import. Is that official?
Yeah, where's the Windu? Where's the Windu? Yeah.
Yep.
So former
NBA
NBA player, NBA journeyman. So he was going to come and bring defensive chops.
He's likely to be playing that game, I would have thought.
Yeah, Coach King said it's 50-50. He's not 100% sure, but Nathan Sobey needs some help offensively.
Yep.
Should they be concerned about Maldonado?
A little bit, yeah. I mean, it feels like he's an import 3, isn't he? And he's probably playing import 1 or 2 type of minutes there. But yeah, he's not really doing anything to stand out much, is he? I know you've been a little bit down on him too.
Yep, definitely. All right, so you got the Hawks there?
Definitely the Hawks there. I mean, look, they've been a bit up and down. They finally got that first win that they were, really needed there. But yeah, I think they'll fire up in this one and expect JaVale McGee to have a pretty big game against that South East Melbourne front line.
Yeah, for sure. This is a long round, man. Big round, a lot of games.
Big round,
right?
Yeah.
United versus Breakers on Sunday.
I mean, this is going to be another big United Sunday. I don't know. They could continue this trend. Their plus minus this year is going to be pretty high with some of these big wins they're having now.
Yeah, agree. United, and then we get to follow a tradition, our annual tradition. Go to the Kings Wildcat game on Sunday. So.
Well, firstly, Woods, I'm not going to be wearing a cotton jersey, which is going to be so strange. I'm going to pull out a Wimler or a Doolittle, or maybe I'll shock everyone and wear a Ricky Grace or a Mike Ellis jersey or something, but that's going to be weird. I know my daughter's still going to be rocking her Bryce Cotton jersey because that's kind of the only one she's got there, but really looking forward to this. Looking forward to see some of the new players on both rosters there, and looking forward to spend some time with you and the family on Sunday there.
Yeah, definitely, man. Really excited.
Perth to win as well, by the way.
Yeah, Sydney to win, by the way. All right, thanks for that, Robbie. A really exciting round ahead, which starts. This will come out on Tuesday, so tomorrow night for all our listeners.
5 days a week, aren't we now with NBL? It's Monday and Tuesdays are the day off. So that's why we're sort of recording. It's Monday, the 13th of October, as we record this. So yeah, a lot of games coming up this week.
All right, thanks, Robbie, for all your thoughts and research this week and contributions to the episode. So let's move to true or false before we say goodbye. Okay, first true or false, Robbie. Giannis. This will be Giannis's final season in Milwaukee.
Yeah, I'd say true. I think it is bound to happen, and they probably will move on from him there. So look, great career, great. He's had that longevity with the Bucks, but I'd say true. They probably will. It will be his final season there.
Will he play out the whole season?
Probably depends a little bit how they start. I'm going to say he will play out the season, and there'll be an off-season move.
Yeah, I agree with you on both sentiments, right?
Yeah.
Okay, you will be watching the WNBL season opener at 2 p.m. this Saturday, the 18th of October, between Southside and the UC Capitals. And before you answer that question, let me tell you, The WNBL is now being televised on Disney Plus and ESPN. You do not have to go to 9 now to watch the
That's
games
good, 'cause
anymore.
I don't even think I have 9 now tuned into any of my TVs. But probably my answer for this one, Wood, is true-ish, right? So I might be out for lunch that day, but given it's on ESPN, I like, coming back and watching games on delay without finding out the score. I'm kind of big on that. You fast forward through the quarter time breaks and timeouts and stuff, and you just, I'm a busy guy, right, with the family and that. So I try to cut out things like that. But no, I'll definitely be watching that. Looking forward to the season to begin. Looking forward to see the return of my favourite player, Loz Nicholson, for the Sydney Flames. I know Perth signed the big Chinese centre, the 6'11" centre, which is going to be really exciting to see. So no, I think it's going to be a big season. Recommend that everyone sort of get into it this year. And shame we don't have fantasy for WNBL. We keep mentioning it every year, but saying that, after what they've done with the NBL fantasy, I know there's a question coming up.
There's a question coming up on that right now, man.
Yeah. All right.
Okay. Okay. Speaking of Giannis, is he being taken way too high in fantasy drafts? We talked about all the different fantasy comps we're playing in this year, and I've just noticed his current average draft position in Yahoo is 5.4, and his overall ranking is 3.
Yeah.
Do you think he's going to have injury problems, potentially being traded, Bucks do crap and he gets sat out so they tank? Or
I mean, he's still a beast, Woods, but he's still one of those players that in fantasy there's a few things that lets him down. He doesn't hit threes, he's a bad free throw shooter, he gets turnovers. So that's instantly 3 categories you're looking at that he's not going to really help you there. So, look, I think a ranking of 3 is a little bit higher there, isn't it? You think of some of the guys, like, you've got your Joker and your Wemby and your Luca, your SGAs, you've got rising stars like Ant Edwards coming up. And I don't know. I mean, I would have thought, I wouldn't be surprised at the end of a season if someone like Şengün is a higher ranked fan.
That's what I was.
As well,
the next question: if you had Şengün in front of you, all right, or you had Giannis right now, and you could draft either one of them in a 9-cat league, right?
Yeah, in a fantasy league, Şengün. In a real life league, Giannis. Absolutely. Yeah.
Maybe in a points league, you take Giannis over Şengün, right?
Maybe. Yeah.
All right. And the final, and we're going to change it up, man. Fantasy up and stuff. So let's a lot of listeners would be playing fantasy and have their drafts coming up, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Finally, you are actually enjoying the new format of NBL Super Coach despite its limited nature.
So I've got false in capital letters. Look, every week I do this, Woods, I spend about 2 minutes to set the team and the 6 players or whatever you pick. Every time I do it, I wish it was the old format, I've got to say. Although in saying that, I think I might be winning our comp. At least I was the last time I checked it. So I'm going okay, but no, I'm not enjoying it. I sort of like that looking ahead and doing your 2 trades every week and trying to set your team up for that week where you had guys on all these doubles. And now it's just basically you look at it, see which teams are on doubles, and you pick players from those teams. So no, not enjoying it. It's such a disappointing thing they did. I'd love to see him maybe not be pick-headed and just go back to the old format next year. And let's. I think we all hope that'll happen, right?
Totally, man. And look, I'm gonna play devil's advocate and say true. I am enjoying it, right? Not as much as I would enjoy the classic, but what I like about this is every week I get to choose 6 new players. And I might choose different players every week just because I want to watch them play. I don't really care if I win or lose or whatever, right? I'm going to tune in to watch those guys play. And when you've got the rolling lockout, you can only bring in 2 guys every week, so you're limited. You have you start with a build, and that's the kind of build you run with throughout the year. So
I love doing that though, where you try and pick some cheap guys that would sort of end up sort of going up in value, and it's all the value side of stuff. But yeah, look, we enjoy any type of fantasy, we know that, but no, definitely not as much as the old one for sure.
And to the sport blokes, man, come on guys, you can play this. It takes 1 minute, right?
True.
And anyone else who wants to play the simplest version of fantasy, play Beat the Coach, right? Who's the coach now, by the way?
Damon Lowry, I'm assuming he's continuing doing it, but he had a few interesting picks in his team last week, so maybe they'll find someone else.
All right, man. Thanks, Robbie. We'll take us out, man. Where can we be followed and all that jazz? Yeah.
So please make sure you like, rate, and subscribe on YouTube. Big numbers in that episode last week, Wood, so we appreciate everyone for listening and tuning in for that. Also, if you listen to the podcast, please make sure you like, rate, and subscribe. Leave us a comment. Leave us some positive, 5 stars and comments and stuff. That's something that always, helps as well. We can also be followed on X at Throwback Hoops. Woods will get up this lovely Plastic Man card, in the coming days there. And of course, we've got the Instagram, the email there as well. And Patreon, we mention it every week. If anyone that's listening, a regular listener, and you're enjoying it, if you're able to pledge a couple of dollars, that would definitely help us. As I say to people all the time, they see our viewers and numbers and they think that we're making money. Well, absolutely not. We're spending money every month on the production stuff. We love it. It's been over 4 years now we've been doing this, Woods. But yeah, if anyone wanted to contribute a couple of bucks, we'd be appreciative of that for sure.
Thanks, Robbie. Really appreciate that and everyone's support over these 4 years. I think the 4 years just came up recently, you were saying, right?
Yeah,
so
that's it. Yeah.
That's great. Okay, any final thoughts, Robbie?
No, I mean, so much happening, right? So, WNBA starting this weekend, the NBL's, already 5 weeks in, which seems, pretty hard to believe. And as I mentioned earlier, the NBA is literally 9 days away now. So this time next week, we'll be both really excited and, looking forward to that all to be on. So, yeah, enjoy all the basketball and can't wait to kick it with you next week, mate.
Yeah, I mean, I can't wait to kick it with you on Sunday, the Wildcats
right.
Kings games, my brother.
Look forward to it. What do you think about that 4:30 tip-off? Bit of a strange time on a Sunday. I would have preferred an earlier start time, but it is what it is. We'll be there and we'll enjoy it.
Yeah, we've got the United one at 2:30. I think you were saying, right?
Okay, yeah, I prefer a 2:30 one. Yeah.
As in, like, United have got a game at 2:30 before us,
Oh, that's
right?
why they're doing okay. Yeah, fair enough.
All right. From Robbie and I and the whole team at TBH, until we do it all again next week, it's peace out.